and demand that within 90 days, within 3 months, they will begin the process of revamping or basically dismantling their entire zoning codes. They wanted us to investigate the lending practices of banks and to do loan modifications. First of all, none of this is in the agreement. And secondly, we can't do this stuff if we wanted to. We don't have the authority to do bank investigations and stuff. So I had said this is completely and utterly insane. Plus, it is completely unacceptable. And I will not do something that will potentially bankrupt this county, force taxes to go up, fight with our own municipalities. Oh, and by the way, if after 3 months, a municipality or municipalities do not begin the process of dismantling their whole zoning code, that we as a county will sue them. I think this is beyond counterproductive. It is a complete waste of taxpayer money. And we cannot understand where something like this came from. Now, the federal government says Westchester is being bad and not listening. We're doing exactly what we're supposed to do in this agreement. And so if I have to choose between compromising with the federal government to do things that would dramatically raise the cost and taxes, I'm not going to do it. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We are complying with everything in that agreement. And so if this goes back to federal court, I feel we're on very solid ground. But we're going to let this take its course, and we're not going to bow to a very aggressive Washington, D.C. We are going to stick for home rule, and we're going to stick to the agreement. And that's all we're asking them to do as well. Now, I think your question is, if you're caught in the crossfire, what happens? Because this is a financial agreement as well, and we have to come up with the $51 million to build at least 750 units. And by the way, those $51 million that have been set aside, that's not a ceiling, that is not a cap. That is, in the words of Adolfo Carrion, who is the regional director for HUD, that's just a down payment. So the arguments that people used when they voted for this, that, well, once we're done, we're going to put we're going to build 750 units, and $51 million gets us out of this. That's not true. The total liability, some said, was $500 million, and that's why they would settle. It's nowhere near that. The total liability, including, in the words of HUD, was about $150 million maximum. So now we're going to be at $100 million plus. By the time this is all over, we could be at $150 million, and if HUD gets its way, completely and radically change everything about this county. I will say this: I am proud that Westchester is now the 4th most diverse county in New York State. We are tied with Manhattan in diversity. Tied with Manhattan in diversity. Only Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Queens have more of a minority population than Westchester County. We are ahead of Staten Island and every county in this state. And yet HUD is trying to make us spend $100 million plus to do what? We're not even sure what the intention is. We're building the housing. Your question, I'll answer very briefly, is this. We've got $51 million set aside to comply with the settlement. The ramifications of this were that we don't have an endless supply of money. And so traditionally we would build anywhere in Westchester, but also and mainly in the cities where they continuously ask a need for housing. But we have a very good, proud tradition of building affordable housing in this county. But if I have to choose between a dollar going towards a housing project in Yonkers or Peekskill or wherever, or a project that is going to comply with this settlement, or we're going to face fines as a county, we've got to divert the money where it's necessary. We have not stopped building affordable housing throughout this county. But if push comes to shove and there's limited resources, our backs are against the wall for the next 7 years to make sure we comply with the settlement and build. Tourism is a growing industry, and I think it's been sort of put on the side in the past, but I think it's something that we can do, working, whether it's just Westchester County, and we've got a lot of great places to see, or as we've been doing in conjunction with the Hudson Valley. We're having an event today for a Halloween to push all the Halloween events that we do in Westchester and the Hudson Valley. But it is, and we've moved it, the tourism department, we have moved from basically on its own to under economic development, because we believe economic development is where it should be. If you use tourism, the hotel industry, the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, et cetera, under economic development, that's where the job growth is. And if we can create events or work in conjunction with our municipalities on events to bring in people, there's two steps. One, let the people know, not only in Westchester, but in this region, what we have to offer. And then two, branch out to get people from New York City to come up or anywhere to come to Westchester as a destination, whether it's for a weekend or even just a day. That'll help businesses tremendously. So we're working very closely. In fact, I'm meeting with the hotel industry, I think it's next week, on ideas and ways that we can help them. If you have a question, if you email me, and anyone watching or anybody in this room, it's CE for County Executive, CE@westchestergov.com. Send me an email, and either I personally, which I generally do, or somebody in our office will get you an answer as soon as possible. Is that fair enough?